Welcome to the WRW podcast, where we discuss and explore the world of women's writing. I'm Devi.
I'm Anan.
And we have a special guest today.
Hi guys, I'm Angel.
Yay! Yeah, remember episode 5 of season 1 when I mentioned that the subsequent episode would be a collab? We are finally delivering. Welcome to the podcast, Angel.
Thank you for inviting me.
So today's episode is on chick lit. In particular, we will be looking at Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, It Ends With Us. Written in 2016, this book is primarily based on the author's experiences with the relationship of her own parents and tells a story of the cycle of abuse, the complexity of mother-daughter relationships, and most importantly, choosing yourself and your well-being over the person you love. So I'm just going to put out a blanket content warning for the rest of this episode. There will be discussions on abuse, both physical and sexual. But before we get into the episode, we have a special question from Anan.
Yay.
Okay, yay.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so my special question is, what's a song that you guys have been obsessed with recently?
Oh, that's interesting. Do you want to go, Angel?
Yeah, I think I've been listening to the new TXT album. I love all the songs in it. I think my most favorite would be Farewell Neverland. That's the song I'm obsessed with lately. Yeah. What's Devi's favorite?
I recently, my dad sent me this cover of someone singing Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, and I think that song became really popular too, like last year, because there was this guy skateboarding with that song in the background.
Is it Sweet Dreams Are Made of These? That's
No, that's a different. Yeah,
that's the other band. I don't.
yeah, Fleetwood Mac with like Stevie Nicks. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's such a nice song. It has like 1 billion streams on Spotify, and I do not like listening to songs with that many streams because I am very, that's a joke, guys. That's a joke. I do listen to popular songs, but it's a really lovely song. What about you, Anna?
Okay, I listened to this one song. No, wait. In 2010, there was this film called Aisha. Okay, I never watched it, but I remember this one scene from it very vividly in my head. And like one time, I found it on Spotify, and I have been listening to it for at least 2 months now. I'm still obsessed with it.
Oh, also one more song that I would recommend people to watch. Sorry guys. Listen is 8 Billion People by these two twins. In Instagram, I think they're pretty famous in Instagram. Yeah, I would recommend people to listen to it. Guys, WRW.
Thank you, Angel. So, Colleen Hoover. Yeah, she's a very polarizing figure, isn't she? Like, on one hand, whenever there's like some fest in college and there are bookstores set up, 90% of the books will be like of hers. Like, how much does that woman write? But like at the same time, and she's widely popular. Like,
has she been writing for a really long time, or is this are all of her books coming in like a flood?
I honestly have no idea, but a few days ago, there was a bookstall set up. Angel was there with me, and a lot of people were actually buying her books too. So she's like really popular, but at the same time, I searched her up on Twitter like one does before the start of this episode, and there are like a lot of not fans of Colleen Hoover, to like put it very like delicately. I saw this one tweet which said that if you read Colleen Hoover, I am judging you disrespectfully. And right after that, I saw this tweet. It was a screenshot of TikTok, but someone said that, yeah, Colleen Hoover can write Crime and Punishment, but Fyodor Dostoevsky cannot write It Ends With Us. Yeah. So,
I don't think he'd name his characters Ryle.
Yeah. Anna and my first experience with Colleen Hoover was actually really funny. We were on a Discord call with our friend Sam, our special guest from season 1. Yeah. And we were doing the psychology assignment, and randomly she sent this one line in the chat. when he was wiping that cow shit on me, it was quite possibly the most turned on I had ever been.
To get censored for this.
Well, no, but like that's what I knew of It Ends With Us before Angel told us to read it. When she said we are doing it, I recommend It Ends With Us, I was like, oh my god, that's the cow shit book.
This is like a cowboy romance thing.
Because of the cow shit?
Yeah, I genuinely like they're
Cowboys do not like ride on cows. They
No,
ride
I
on
know that, but then they're involved in cow herding and farms, and you'd have to, if you're at a farm and you have cows on the farm, you will have to do some work that's related to their manure.
Yeah, it ended up being quite different from cowboy romance like Anna had like presumed. But my question to you, Angel, is how did you find out about Colleen Hoover, and what experiences have you had reading her books? The good, the bad, the ugly. Tell us everything.
So basically, back in lockdown, okay, my friend and myself got into this habit of reading. That was like the first time that I got into like a habit of reading. I wasn't a reader before that. So she was like, you read this book and I'll read the other book. We can exchange the book after like we get like the, you know, what's the story about and is it nice or not. So I read It Ends With Us. Oh no, she read It Ends With Us and I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo back then.
Oh, I love that book.
Yeah, I love that book. It's my favorite. And then after completing the book, she told me, oh, this book is really good and you have to read it. And I was like, okay. And then I got the book and I started reading it and it was really good. I really liked it, okay. And that was like my first introduction to the book itself and like the author. I wasn't really on the book side of anything, right? Not on Instagram or TikTok is banned, but not on Book Talk or Bookstagram side. So after like when I started reading books, I got into the book side of social media, and I realized a lot of people have read the book, and then I started getting like her other books. Because I thought, oh, this one was interesting. And I started reading other books. So that's my like introduction to the Colleen Hoover, the author Colleen Hoover herself. After like few months, after I got into the book side of social media, I realized that it's not pretty when it comes to her. People have such divided opinions on the way she writes. I think the book, I really liked it, okay, without like looking at the really questionable things written in the book. I liked it. It was simple to read. It was easy to read. Although it was very like trigger warning thing going on, it was still pretty simple to read. I sat down and like read the book in like 2 days because it was really interesting and you were like so hooked up on what's happening, what's not happening. But while looking at the different reels and like post people put out in social media talking about their opinions on the book itself, I kind of like understand where they come from, because it's like the some of the things that she've written feels very romanticized, especially the trigger warning, guys, the abuse part of the abusive scenes in the book itself. It's very romanticized. It's what even the general public who read her book thinks as well. It's what I think as well. But it's also the fact that people on the internet, kind of like agree with Ryle or support Ryle. That's where the whole thing gets really weird. So in that sense, I feel like there's both good and like ugly when it comes to reading Colleen Hoover. But overall, I had a good experience reading her book, whether it was very questionable or not. I don't necessarily say that she's my favorite writer or I like her, but I like the story. I like the reading process or something. Yeah, that's my experience with Colleen Hoover and her books.
So guys, the only chick lit I've read and enjoyed have always been by Meg Cabot. She has this like way of writing which is just so fun and silly. I don't know if those are the right words, but I used to be obsessed with Meg Cabot. Like I'd go to the school library and just like read one book by her in like a single day. I was really obsessed with Meg Cabot. But at the same time, my experiences with other chick lit have been kind of not as fun. For example, back in 2021, I got this mystery box set of books. I found this like thing online where they just delivered this mystery box to you, and it's all completely random and no two boxes are same. It was so cool actually. I think I'll link the site in the show notes. It's called kitabe.com. But anyway, when I received my mystery box, most of it was chick lit. And I decided to like get through with those because I felt like it would be hard for me to like read those. And I started one which is called Paper Hearts and Summer Kisses. I do not remember the author, but I remember the title because of, oh my god, how bad it was. It's about this like single white mom who runs this like craft business, and then like, you know, she has a bratty son, and then she like meets this other single attractive guy. I mean, there was nothing bad about the book. It's just like the writing style was so like, you know, I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, it was very bland, and there was nothing for me to relate to. Not like I could relate to anything in Meg Cabot's books, other than the fact that I and Mia Thermopolis, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, we share the same birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, but
That's
yeah,
an interesting information.
yes, but with the other chick lit I've read, like Paper Hearts and Summer Kisses, if it does not like grip me instantly, it's almost always written in the perspective of this like suburban white woman, and I do feel kind of alienated while reading chick lit, if it makes sense. Their life, their actions, their thoughts, the way they experience and portray love is all very like unfamiliar to me. My question to you guys is, did y'all feel the same way while reading It Ends With Us? Or was the book able to subvert your expectations or your perceptions of chick lit? Anand?
Okay, so my experience with chick lit, I don't think it's a lot, mostly because I don't remember a lot of things that I've read at a point where I used to read a lot of books. But in the summer vacations that I had, I used to go to my grandparents' place, and we had these Reader's Digest collections, and they'd mostly have, you know, those kind of, this guy has to, you know, fight against time to save his city, stuff like that, okay? And I'm never enjoyed stuff like that, but I used to pick up only the books that would, you know, like, oh, a small town romance, or I read one Nicholas Sparks book, and that's where it was. But I remember reading this one book that was about this like lady who has some very complex family relation, like within her family, like her daughter's getting married, her son hates someone, something like that, and she bakes cakes, and then it's basically like, you know, her cooking unites everyone. It was very sweet. Because it was about cake.
Okay, wow. Okay.
No, but okay. It was really heartwarming and stuff, but I don't remember anything about it. I think when I started It Ends With Us, I thought I would hate it, okay? I keep going through the comments that I've written down while I was reading it, and it also, like, the beginning says, cringing low-key, it's giving fake deep.
So valid. My cringe comments and like my own comments doc were all like in the sex scene chapters. So
Oh yeah.
I think it's been a really long time since I have consumed any sort of romance that is between people who are, you know, like, not, I don't think the characters in this are middle-aged, but they're probably like in their mid-20s, late 20s, and they're white people living in America and like doing their jobs and stuff. I exclusively read college and school romances, okay? So that it gives me the one thing I never had.
Okay.
Cut this out, please.
No, we should keep it.
Anyway, so one thing that I did notice about myself when I was reading this book is that if I had read this in a fan fiction, I would have found it very cute. No, wait, no, I wouldn't have found it. I mean the beginning part, before I knew what kind of person Ryle was. Like in the beginning, I was like, okay, interesting, let's see how this goes. I did not know.
He was an abusive,
And after I found out that he was, I think a lot of how I was reading the book changed, because it just started feeling really creepy to me. And I think I was quite a harsh critic of the book till I think I read this with breaks. At one point I read from page 1 to 65, and then onwards I read the entire thing. So I think I was quite critical. The book has like two parts. I think I started engaging more with it around part 2, and I mean I think it is a really good book. I do think that there are some like very questionable very questionable parts. And I think it's quite interesting, and it makes me, it seems a little polarizing even in my head to debate this with myself, that you have this like very cutesy romance story of like, oh my god, we loved each other for so long, within the narrative of something that's like, this is a very romantic love can be such a terrible experience. And I think a lot of what I was thinking about was centered around how I would see the same thing in fanfiction. And I have a lot of questions with myself about whether I think that she's just relying on a lot of tropes. Like you see the first lead, second lead sort of thing with Ryle and Atlas. But at the same time, she's also subverting that, because you typically look at Ryle and be like, oh my god, he's so attractive. He's the main lead. And that feeling of, oh my god, someone wants me that badly. But then you quickly see it turn into something that's very terrifying. Angel, what about you?
Yeah, so to me, as I've mentioned before, I don't have much experience reading from a young time, because I wasn't really like encouraged to read books other than like my school books. So if I ask my parents like, oh, I want that Hannah Montana book, they'll be like, read your textbook. So I don't I've always, I've envied few of my friends who got to read like from a young time. So I don't have much experience with the whole reading from a young time, and I only after like in 2020 it's when I actually started reading, right? Like as a hobby, and that's when I got introduced to this whole chick lit, right? The thing is that to me, while reading It Ends With Us, this is I found this interesting, but I don't know if this is what everyone thinks. To me, I felt like Ryle was like the second lead, and Atlas was always the main character.
If you see it in that K-drama structure, it does.
It's like, so to me, Atlas was always like the main lead who never got to like be with Lily over the years, and Ryle is like the second lead who came into her life after some point, and things happened and everything. So to me, Lily, right, towards the end, if you guys haven't read, this could be like a spoiler alert. Lily, so as we have mentioned, right, Ryle is like an abuser, and somehow she stays in the relationship for even after knowing that he was an abuser. And this is what the internet really, talks about it as if it's like, oh, see, this is what Colleen Hoover is doing. She's romanticizing abuse. Yeah, it's not that. But people on the internet say that, oh, this is what she's trying to do. She's romanticizing the whole abuse thing, because a lot of really questionable things happened. So the book it was released back in 2016, right? And it's still, yes, it's a 20s.
Wait, Anand, I literally mentioned that in the intro. Did you not listen to me?
I was running out.
Yeah, so the book came out in 2016. It's still very relevant now. I feel like from back 2016 to like now, the whole story thing or writing thing have changed a lot, and people are more like inclined to reading authors like Colleen Hoover or stories that come out from an author like Colleen Hoover. So to me, since I don't have experience reading much of chick lit, this is like one of the first book that I read, right? So I don't know if I could make like a correct distinction to you know, to how, you know, it subverts or anything. But to me, after reading for quite some time now, if I'm trying to make like a distinction, I would say that usually, right? Usually, if there's one male lead and then there's one female lead, something happens between them, but they'll still be together. For example, this book called Ugly Love. God, it's by Colleen Hoover. By Colleen Hoover. It's the absolute worst book that I've ever read in my entire life.
Angel, is this the one book where that very infamous line, we both laughed at our son's big balls? Is this the book?
Yes, that is the book where there's this scene where this girl goes, oh my god, I laughed at we laughed at our son's big balls. She just gave birth, okay, and they were like coming in the car. Oh, the whole plot during that scene, it's just so, everything happened so suddenly, okay? Man, they were like, oh my god, we were laughing at sorry, the whole thing, as we have mentioned, and then after like 5 minutes into the whole thing, they get into an accident, and then the car just rolls off and like falls in a river, and then the son dies. So yeah, that book, right? That's like the perfect example of how a usual book would go. Like where the female lead and the male lead, even if they have like issues with each other, they'll still end up together.
Yeah.
Like they would like talk it out, or you know, they'll come to this understanding that, oh,
they're
this is
like,
what.
oh, I loved you all along.
Yeah. No, but then the male lead, what's his name? I don't even want to remember his name. He's the absolute worst character. I think his name is Jules or something. Brother, he needs therapy. He took that out on the female lead. Okay. But then she was like, oh my god, I'm such an understanding girlfriend. I am gonna. She's like I am gonna fix him, because he's my love. So that's how usually the books that I've read so far, even if Anna, what do you
I think
want to say?
Lily also
Kinda,
looks at Ryle in the same way in
yeah.
the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like, if there's no one else to help him, I can fix him. No, you can't, girl.
Yeah, exactly. Lily still had like, oh, I have to help him because he went through a terrifying childhood. He has like this terrifying trauma. I have to like save him. But later on, she understands that it's not her job first. Second, she can't really do anything if he's not going to like, you know, accept the fact that he's like this, and then he have to heal. Although see, the debate, right? People on the internet, they debate about, oh, Ryle changed. It's Lily who like went and cheated on with Atlas.
She never cheated on.
Literally, that's the point. People just overread or misread the whole situation, where Lily doesn't cheat on Atlas. Ryle just overthinks the whole situation, where he just links everything to everything. The magnet, if you've read the book, you would know the reference.
Angel, I don't think they care about spoilers now. We have spoiled the entire book. But for me, I may not read actual books, but I read a lot of manga. Specifically, I had this phase when I was a teenager where I read shoujo manga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I before I got into reading books, I was reading comics.
Yes.
So not exactly manga, web comics. It was like back when, I don't know, was it 2018 when the app web comics came out?
Webtoon, right?
No, web comics. There's something called web comics.
It's a little more. It has more
Questionable
content.
things.
Questionable things?
No, I have read questionable.
Yeah.
things, so I know.
Yeah, that was like my introduction to like before that it was anime.
Yeah.
I started watching anime at like 6 years old. Please don't judge me.
Doraemon?
No, not Doraemon, from the Animax. If you all remember the channel Animax. I relate to what you're talking
Yeah. My first shoujo manga was this one called Itazura na Kiss, and it's about this girl who's really into this guy, but then he rejects her because she's really dumb and he's really smart, and then this earthquake happens and she moves into his house because her dad and his dad are like BFFs or something. But the thing is, there's a lot of questionable like things there, okay, and this is common to all like the shoujo mangas I'm familiar with. I was recently just reading it for funsies and for the nostalgia, and there's a chapter where he straight up hits her. Yeah, but his name's Irie. And we see his like possessiveness and jealousy over her. Like even though he completely debases her, you see this sort of like jealousy and possessiveness as something attractive. I found it attractive as a child. And I think I want to talk about Ryle's portrayal because I actually looked up spoilers before starting the book. I usually do that. I just don't. Yeah. And with the added knowledge that he is an abuser, when I started reading the book, a lot of like his descriptions took on a more sinister undertone. For example, there's this line in which Lily describes his arms. It goes like, his hands aren't in fists anymore. They're resting on his hips, and I notice for the first time how his shirt doesn't fit him very well around his biceps. It fits him everywhere else, but his arms are huge. Normally, I would be very into that. But with the added knowledge that he's an abuser, it kind of makes it a little more sinister. And this part was actually kind of scary to me. Oh my god, big arms, he can overpower her easily. But for me, the best subversion of tropes, which actually made me really like this book, maybe even love this book, when I saw the title and I knew there would be like a love triangle between her and Ryle and Atlas, I thought that It Ends With Us would refer to her and Atlas, that she will go back to her first love and that it ends with them. But later, at the end of the book, it's actually about her and her daughters. It Ends With Us refers to ending the cycle of abuse. And I found that so beautiful. Like, that was my favorite part of the book. And I think it does a beautiful job of subverting the tropes.
I think that's also like my favorite part of the book, where I thought, because towards like the end of the chapters, Lily gives this picture of, oh, we are a happy family now. Ryle is like, healing and we're gonna be
respecting her boundaries.
Yeah, respecting her boundaries, and like he's been a good husband or whatever. It's like, okay, I deep inside my heart, I wanted her to not continue living with him. And I was like, okay, whatever. Oh, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, and when she gave birth, and on the same day, she was like, Ryle, thank you so much. I want a divorce. And that was like, oh, this is something new.
Yeah.
Now what is happening? Yeah. Lily is ending her relationship with Ryle. Good for her. Very good for her. I'm happy for her. But like, what's next? What's gonna happen? And that's when the epilogue comes in. Yeah. So to me, that was like, wow, that is amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Lily. You are like, you did something there by like putting a full stop to everything. And the chapter ends with the sentence, it ends with us. Yeah. So then it all made sense. Oh, this is what they were trying to do.
Putting aside the three MCs for a while, what did you all think of the portrayal of the other characters in the book? So I'm talking like characters like Lily's mom, Jenny, was that her name? Yeah. Ryle's sister, Alyssa, and even Lily's really annoying roommate, whose name I'm forgetting right now, Lucy, yeah.
Alyssa's husband.
Yeah. So what did you think of these characters? Were they well developed? And since some of them are really close to Lily, did you find their reactions to her abuse realistic? Angel?
Yeah. So, to me, they were my favorite characters.
Yes.
Than the actual main characters. Mainly because I feel like even in reality, right? It's not very realistic to have your own sister going against you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. In a very realistic setup, this is not very realistic. Where you would end up supporting or like taking your brother's side, right? But here, Alyssa being like the best person to be ever alive. I love that one scene where Alyssa and Lily are talking, and Alyssa was like, as his sister, I would want you to be like, forgive him and like get back together. But as your best friend, I would want you to leave him. And that's where I was like, oh my God, she is the best character in the story. If you guys haven't read It Starts With Us, even in that, she has like the best character. I don't really see that as a development, because there's not really a character development. She's always been the best, right? The only other person who did not have a character development as such is Ryle. like absolute no character development at all. Where Alyssa did not really need a character development because she was already like great, right? And talking about Marshall, who's like the husband of Alyssa, he was also one of the best characters. He was there. He's always there. He's like in It Starts With Us, he's like, he advises Lily to like, good that you left him. You did great. He's very like chill, cool type. So I really, as I mentioned with Alyssa, there wasn't really a need for a character development for them because they were already great. They did not have to like change anything about themselves. Especially Lily's mother. Yeah. I thought she would be like when Lily like broke out the news that I'm gonna like leave leave Ryle. I thought she would exhibit the same behavior as she exhibited with her husband, right? But that's where it's different. Where Lily's mother was like, good that you took this decision, right? To me, I could not do it because I was not in a position to leave. This also like very, very like very important because you see this everywhere where women just can't leave from a relationship because they are totally dependent on their spouse, which is like very, very much in, it's happening now, it's there. So in that sense, you could just relate with, even if you don't have direct experience with the whole being with an abusive husband of some sort, you could still like draw parallels to like the reality that we are in, to the story itself. In that case, I felt very sad for Lily's mother that she was put in a position where she can't leave. But when it came to her daughter, she was like, you are doing the right thing, right? So in that sense, I loved the side characters. I love Lily's mother, Jenny, Alyssa, and Marshall. Yeah. Devi?
I won't talk about Alyssa because you mentioned everything that I love about her. She's one of my favorite characters. In my notes, half of it, whenever like Alyssa showed up, it was me simping over Alyssa and talking about how like Alyssa and Lily would have been like the best ship in It Ends With Us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's something that I also saw while reading on the book, where it was like, oh my god, if it's not Ryle, then it's Alyssa. And
Like, imagine this pretty woman just coming in and helping out with your flower shop. Like, it's insane. Me well. Meet cute, yeah. But I do have problems with some of the side characters, especially the babies. They have the worst names ever. It's just like, they don't have personalities. I can't really judge them based on that. But
Colleen Hoover's fault.
like, literally, Alyssa names her daughter Riley after her brother Ryle.
Just pick a new name.
Like,
Yes, he's already there, okay? He's already there. You don't need to name her after a guy who's already alive. Like,
already alive.
yeah, I mean, he's not dead. So why do you have to keep his memory alive?
They could have named their daughter after their dead brother or something.
Yeah, but like Lily does that.
That was also a terrible name, by the way. I thought they'd just go with Emma for that kid, but then they were like, chalo, let's name it Emerson.
Emerson.
Truck sounding name.
Chuck sound, yeah, it sounds like
truck.
a brand.
No,
of,
his middle name was even more funny.
No,
Dory.
we have to-
Dory.
yeah, well, putting these children aside, these babies literally, I did have problems with the portrayal of like one specific character, and it's Lily's stereotypical gay best friend Devin, okay? So this man, he just like shows up in a single chapter, okay? That's like his only appearance. And he goes to this party with Lily because Alyssa becomes good friends with him, which is never mentioned ever again, okay? So they go to this party and Ryle is there, and like, Devin wants to like they try to make Ryle jealous. Ryle gets jealous and like throws a wine glass across the room. It's very like insane. But there are so many problems with this stereotype of the gay best friend, like who's a non-threatening figure and can't make moves on you, and you just like use him to make
His
your...
job is to make sassy comments and just
Yeah.
like, Lily, go for it.
And I think like his only other mention was like some 20 chapters later. I saw the name Devin and I was like, was there a character like that really?
Now that you mentioned it, that's when I go back to like, oh, there was a character. I don't even remember.
Yeah, and it's really sad because see, Devi and Devin are like one letter apart. Like that makes it extra sad for me, guys. Like I would have loved to see more of Devin, but we didn't get to see that. So yeah, Colleen Hoover's portrayal of him is very questionable, and yeah, that's all I have to say, Anand.
I think one qualm that I'd want to pick with this book is that a lot of times I feel like Atlas acts as a side character. To me, the way that he is, it's like his whole personality is Lily. I mean, I like him as a character. I think he's like really sweet. He's a really good person, and he's someone I respect a lot, and he does a lot of good things, but a lot of times it's just he comes when it's for, and I know it's from her point of view, so and everything that we know about him, even in the past, that's also from her point of view. So we don't really see him as,
especially from the journal that it's
Yeah.
written. It's not even like she remembers something and she tells it.
She's just
It's
like reading
whatever
what
that's
happened.
written down. Yeah.
and okay, I think I really didn't like the fact that he named his restaurant after her, okay? I thought it was like, bro, have something for yourself, okay? Everything doesn't need to be about Lily. That's a very Mary Sue thing of her.
I think I have a response for that. I feel like Atlas just planned his whole life revolving around Lily, because to him she was like savior, right? Because he was struggling a lot, and then they were in love with each other. And I mean, they fell in love with each other, whatever. So he kind of planned out his life, everything revolving around Lily. So it just kind of makes sense that he's doing, and like every single thing is like about Lily.
I think one thing that he keeps saying a lot is that, oh, I want to make my life such that it's, it's good enough for you
Lily.
to be with.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's actually something that would make me like, oh my god, that's
but
so...
and then it's like, it's very tropey of him. That's classic second lead. Because I keep seeing this in terms of, classic love triangle, True Beauty. Yeah. This is Han Sojin from True Beauty, because he's just like, of course, he doesn't want her to be with Ryle because for obvious reasons. But apart from that, he's just like, oh, I want you to be happy all the time. I will be there for you all the time. I respect that a lot. I think that's a wonderful thing that he's doing. But I do feel like there isn't anything much that they give him except for the fact that he's unconditionally supportive of Lily.
Even in the sequel book, right, it starts with us. The thing that bored me out in that book is that, again, as you've mentioned, everything just revolves around Lily, right? Everything about Atlas revolves around Lily. What is she doing? Is she calling me back? Is this thing good enough? Everything. So it was a dual POV where they show both Atlas and Lily's POV. In Lily's POV, it's about like Ryle, Lily, Emerson, and like her mother and Alice. There was a lot to like actually like look for in her POV. But when it came to Atlas POV, but the thing that I liked about Atlas POV is that when he talks about his past, which Lily doesn't entirely know, like his relationship with his mother, his step brother, he gets to have he gets to know that he has a step brother and things like that. So that's like one interesting point about the whole Atlas thing. But other than that, it's all about Lily. So like Anand mentioned, it's kind of like there's nothing that is like of him, right? The only thing that is of him was his step brother, because he was like, oh, I'm gonna save my step brother from my mother, right? So he kind of as the story progressed, he kind of like takes the what do you call that, custody of his step brother, because he doesn't want to put his brother through the same thing. I think that's the only interesting part about Atlas in the whole story. But other than that, everything revolved around Lily. So I agree with Anand.
I love that I literally said, putting aside the three main characters for a while, and then you all just like started talking about Atlas as a side character.
Like the main character.
Yeah. He's not like, that's very understandable.
I feel like Atlas also did not have character development.
He literally was the same person.
His character was Lily.
I think this is a great segue into the next question though.
Okay, my final question is going to be very direct, as it forms the crux of the book. What did you guys think of the portrayal of abuse in the book? And did the love triangle between Lily, Ryle and Atlas take away from it? Anand?
I think, for one, I do feel like Colleen Hoover utilizes a lot of the tropes that she's using in a way that, like, as you mentioned, initially the way that you see Ryle, and then once you understand the magnitude of his actions and what he's doing, the way that a lot of the way that you see him changes. And I think she does do really well in how she explores the way that Lily starts seeing him, because we see him through Lily's eyes. So initially we're just like, oh my god, so attractive, but then you start seeing the more sinister sides of him. I think a lot of the sort of person he is, like from what you guys said, that there's lots of like Ryle stands on the internet being like, oh, he changed, he's better and all of that. I think that's one thing. While I was reading also, I felt I don't like to admit that I thought this, but at times I was just like, oh, he seems like he's getting better, he'll be better, right? I think that's the way that she's written, abuse and the experience of it. I think a lot of times you can see how Lily's looking at everything. She does that really well, especially when it comes to Ryle. And I do feel like that like very sudden reveal of, oh, by the way, he killed his brother on accident. Like, I felt like that came out of nowhere. Because I had forgotten the whole like beginning part, how they met and all of that, and he was just like, oh, I can imagine what goes to that kid's head and stuff. I think that was a very sudden reveal. I also feel like they didn't talk about that enough to use that as a sort of device for why she continues to stay with him, because she thinks that, oh, he's been through so much, I can help heal him. The sort of character that he is, I think this is one line that I picked up and I wrote it down in my notes, where it was like, he says, please help me, Lily, help me to be the sort of person that you want me to be to you. And I think like continuously he keeps putting the onus of his actions on her to be like, are you capable of loving me? Can you fix me? Like that. And she takes it upon herself. I think throughout she is that sort of person who wants to help people to such an extent that she would put herself in, I mean, not in the beginning, I guess it's some sort of inconvenience, but then like danger to, like in the case of Atlas, she was putting herself in constant danger of, her dad and the sort of person he is. About the love triangle between the three of them, at some point, I started feeling like Lily and Atlas wouldn't be together, because the part after, she calls Atlas up, she calls him up, and then they go to his house because, that's the only safe place that she has. A lot of the interactions between them were coded very platonic, and that made me very, like, I was glad that Atlas was there. He was a very comforting presence, and I could see what he could be like for her too. And I was just like, oh, I'm so glad that they're friends with each other and all of that. I did sort of feel like, oh, it would be nice if they ended up together. But I think that's one thing that you see in a lot of romance novels, where you're just like, oh, this person is so nice. He deserves to get her. And I think a lot of times in romance novels, you have that sense of, oh, she's been through so much, she deserves to find love in the end. Like, that's a reward for going through things. But in this case, I feel like it was more like, oh, Atlas is so nice and he will be so good. So I think in my head, it kind of goes on to, he can take care of her. Yeah. I mean, in the very romance novel infested brain. I think I would have liked it more if that epilogue didn't happen. And it was just like he said, oh, I'll support you, I'm going to be there for you. Yeah. I'm your friend, because they were friends. Angel, what do you think?
Yeah, about the epilogue thing, right? Mm-hmm. Since this book was released back in 2016 and the sequel released like last year.
Oh, that's a really long time.
Yeah, so people on the internet was like, oh my god, Ryle was changing. Why did she leave Ryle?
Oh.
But later on in the sequel story, right, that's when you get to know that, oh no, Ryle was like still
because it's just going to be a pattern. If she goes back to him, he'll do the same thing. I'm glad that she...
Yeah, so basically, that's why people were like, oh my god, Ryle was changing and she like left him. Because she wanted to be with Atlas, like cheating. That's where the cheating point came from. So in my opinion, when it came to Atlas, right, I felt as you were saying, I felt like, oh, Atlas deserves the whole thing, because he also went through a lot. Lily went through a lot. Both just deserve each other. Ryle just doesn't deserve Lily. And also, like, this is very important. Because whatever trauma that you have gone through, you don't portray it on someone else.
Yeah.
Right? You don't justify your actions just because you went through something. Yeah. Right? You don't just portray it on someone else. This is such an important lesson that you take away from this whole thing. Because I got into a really nasty fight in the internet about Ryle, people supporting Ryle in the comment section. I'm like, guys, what is going on? You do not support him. See, I am sorry for him. I'm sorry for the things that he went through. I can still sympathize with his whole situation and not support him for what he did. That's what the attitude should be. Yeah. If this is how you think, girl, go get therapy. You have something wrong.
I think it's that thing that they mention a lot. I think Alyssa also says that, like, no, Jenny says that. She's like, if he did actually love you, then he would understand that he needs to be away from you
Yeah.
and let you lead your own
Exactly.
life.
So, and I was like telling people like, guys, you don't do this. You don't support people, of their actions just because they had a terrifying childhood.
Yeah.
The things Ryle does after, in the sequel, right? It's even more terrifying.
Oh, really?
It's even more.
I'm going to read the sequel.
Yeah, I will give you the book. I will like spoil a little, but he does things like choking her.
What?
Yeah, things like threatening her in a very like, I will like kill you of some sort.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Even in the I think it it ends with us, right? Yeah. There's this one thing where he bites down. And people trying to justify such actions just because, and telling that, oh, Lily should have been the better person and like try to like help Ryle.
That's literally against the point that the book is making.
Yeah. So what are people trying to do? You are supporting someone who did the absolute worst, and then you are blaming Lily. And I think this just happens in any fiction where you take people just bully or blame the female lead for anything that happens because, oh my god, the male lead is hot and he's like correct. Right? That's how the whole thing about supporting Ryle and like I absolutely detest Ryle. I'm sorry. Whether he's hot or not, that's like a different story. Yeah. His actions should not be justified just because he went through. That's something that we need to take away from the whole reading and like looking at Ryle's perspective or whatever, where we don't justify his actions, where we could sympathize with people, right? I'm like sad that he had to like go through such a terrifying childhood, but that was like back when he was 7 years old. Why should that still be like and like Lily says that you should go to anger management class, like and better yourself. I'm still not gonna be with you, but I want to help you. Even Lily in the sequel, right? Even there, she's like trying to make points like, Ryle, you need to go get anger management, therapy and like anger management class, because he was still getting really angry. So he used to have, So basically, Lily gives like Ryle her apartment key because they are like father and mother, right? They have a daughter together. So she felt like, it's like right for him to have, but then she wanted it back because he kept on coming to Lily's house, and Lily, I felt really sad for her because every time she sees Ryle, she just freezes up or like freezes up. Is that the right word? Freezes up. And everything goes back to like her memory lane of what happened, and again he's like every other like few chapters after, you'll see Ryle doing something that you would like make you feel like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? He need to stop coming into Lily's life. And yeah, in the love triangle thing, right? I think I also thought Atlas deserved. But I also thought Atlas needed some, some kind of a story for himself. Like choosing himself in situations. But yeah, that is what I wanted to see.
I think I'll answer the second part of the question first. Yes, the love triangle thing, it did not take away from it at the beginning. Atlas was more of like a support system for Lily. He was the only one she could go to when, like, the final big abuse happened, where he, like, as you said, he bit her collarbone so hard that she felt it in her, like, arms. Yes. Yeah, but like Anand said, I would have loved this book so much if it weren't for the epilogue. Her going to, if it had just ended with "It Ends With Us," it would have been a masterpiece to me. Yeah. I would have read this book like every other month. But instead, I felt like that Atlas thing where she goes up to him and kisses him in the epilogue was very abrupt, and it did take away from my at the end of the day, I wanted Lily to choose herself because as the book progressed, I became really fond of this character and I wanted her to be happy. And she is happy with Atlas, okay? Not that I am.
But I also think it's more explained in the sequel.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And as for how abuse is portrayed, I think at the end of the book, Colleen Hoover has this like very personal note about the relationship of her own parents and being exposed to how abusive relationship works at such a young age. She was really able to like portray it well in this book. And that's primarily like seen in Lily's relationship with her mother, which is one of my favorite parts of the book. So it's obvious that she loves her mother, but at the start of the book, she's also kind of resentful towards her, which I completely like understand. If you remember, there was this one part where her mom said, after her dad like threw her off, and she gets a wound on her head. Lily gets a wound on her head.
That was a very
her mom says that tell the doctors that you tripped or something. And as a child, seeing that your own mother wouldn't defend you and like escape someone who hurt you both, it must have been like very traumatic for Lily. So she loves her mother, but she also kind of does not want her near her. Like when she hears that her mom's moving to Boston, she's like, I really don't want to, I feel like she was very exhausted at that point of time.
When she kind of moved for the reason that she wanted to get away from her parents and like the whole memory and experience of being in that kind of a situation and like start a new life, and then her mother suddenly want to like move with her, which was kind of like exhausting to her again.
And that's very like understandable. I don't fault her for that, even though like it may seem like her thoughts may seem cruel at first. And after that, there's this like really nice progression of her finally understanding her mother. So after she first gets hit by Ryle, that casserole scene, like he burns his hand and she laughs because she
was drunk.
She was drunk, and then he like smacks her so hard that she falls on the floor.
And she bleeds.
She says she's not like her mom. Like after Ryle has apologized to her, she says that she's not like her mom and her dad was much worse than Ryle, and it's only after like that one incident, like which was like the last straw for her, where he like almost raped her, Ryle I mean, that she understood her mom's point of view about how like it starts off small, but as you keep excusing his actions and you like stay with him for your child because he's just in control of you financially. There was this one point in the book where he buys an apartment for them.
And she's a little uncomfortable with that.
I mean, she was happy with it if I remember correctly, but to me it was just a way of him, because he bought the apartment, he could like kick her out anytime.
And she says that like this is a decision we both should have made together. And
he always keeps on trying to rationalize his behavior through some sort of an excuse or like even
after he does things to her, he's very tender and he'll be like, oh, I love you, I'm so sorry, which is and I think she mentions that her mom, when she's talking to her, her mom says that the first time that he hit me, that's what he said, he was so gentle with me. And then when he did it again, he'd apologize so profusely. And then, so like the fourth time or something, when he hurt me really badly, and the time after that, he'd be more gentle. I'd just be like, oh, at least it wasn't as bad as that time.
Exactly.
That just get stuck with
you could see that in Lily's thing also, where after some point you could also see Lily exhibiting the same thing, like, oh, he didn't like hit me, at least he just stood there and talked to me about it. You could see Lily doing the same thing.
But the thing that breaks this cycle finally is, oh my god, I actually love this so much. Her talking to her mom. And there's this thing, like, even in non-abusive households, right, where your dad does not openly abuse your mom, but there's a lot of trauma a new wife faces in like a new household. And the thing with moms is that they never tell you that. If you're like her daughter, she keeps it inside. And all for the kids, just stick with your husband. And I feel like it was Jenny finally acknowledging that she had been abused and thanking Lily for standing up to her that finally broke the cycle of abuse and made Lily choose her own daughter in the end.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Our special guest for today, Angel, is from Vinyl Women Rights, who we're going to link in our show notes, who are on Instagram, and they're also back for the new semester. So be sure to check out their works as well. As for WRW, don't forget to follow us at wrw.podcast on Instagram and wrw_podcast on Twitter. You can also write to us at womenarwomen22@gmail.com. The links to all things that we've discussed will be in the show notes. Thank you for listening. Bye. Bye.
Cue outro music.